Give me 30 seconds.
I guess.
So, Tony, I mean, this is
Yep.
complicated.
Yes, it is.
The agenda says conducted remotely using Zoom. Physical meeting will not take place.
Yep.
So anyone that's presenting really has to do it on the computer.
Yep. I have them come up here and sit on the chair and
Okay.
get recorded, and it's gonna be a good time.
Okay.
Well, this is the world we live in.
It is nice to be able to see people. Doesn't have to be.
Well, this sucks doing it this way. You guys ready?
These are the regulations.
My tongue is chewed up from the pictures. Oh, it hurts.
Okay, good. We'll get to that. Okay, this is gonna go well. Marion, you good? Okay. All right, you ready? And recording? I'm ready. Yeah, so everybody said they were coming and no one showed up.
What do you mean no one?
Well, he officially resigned.
Do you have a quorum, Tony?
We do.
Okay.
All right. Just, guys, you got to be really quiet because this is super hard to record and just this is going to be difficult. So we'll get through it. Anyway, I'm going to call this meeting to order at 7:08 p.m. The public hearing and regular meeting June 17th, 2021. Go through the roll call real quick. So I'm Tony Baldock, Bruce Edgerton, Jonathan Kastner, I'm sure he's not online. Alan Parody.
Here.
Stan, I think, is online.
Here.
All right. Marion Stay. Here. Christy Stroud. All right. Going to seat Marion in the open seat and Stan for Chris. Let's see. Moving on to item number 3, acceptance of applications. I don't think we have anything new, correct? Everything's already on the agenda. Sounds good. Item number 4, public hearing. Item A, zoning text amendment application, self-storage facility in the Turnpike Industrial District. Applicant 448 through 500 Main Street LLC. Is there an applicant here or online? Okay. You gotta unmute yourself.
I'm going to unmute myself. My name is Valerie Votto. I am the attorney for the applicants, but the applicants are also online. I just saw their pictures go by. So there are representatives here online.
Okay,
Tell me when you want me to start and we'll go.
fire away.
It's the Zoom nightmare. It is what happens.
Yep.
Okay. My clients are interested in developing a self-storage facility in the Turnpike Industrial District. I believe we set forth in the text the reason for the requested changes, and it's simply because it is something that hasn't been provided for in the regulations. When we first brought this information to the town, there weren't any regulations that existed that applied appropriately. So in preparing our regulation, preparing the text amendment, I took the opportunity to look at what other municipalities were doing where we knew that there were facilities similar to what my clients envisioned occurring. A good number of them were working with the basis of warehouse regulations, which we didn't feel would be appropriate in Deep River. So we tried to marry the concept of what my clients' visions were with what we deemed to be the intent of the town of Deep River, and we tried to stay as as consistent as possible with the language in your plan of conservation and development, and try to make this as palatable as possible in the area in which it is located. We provided for a good amount of screening, taking into consideration light and noise and the potential therefore. We made as many allowances as we can to acknowledge that there's the potential for this to impact at least one residence. And we did as much as we could to diminish that impact. It doesn't seem that this use would in any way not be in keeping with the district in which it's located. And I will welcome dialogue regarding same. If you have any questions, as I said, the applicants are here. They can answer with more specificity as to what they envision at the property.
Okay. Anybody else? To, anybody want to add to that, or?
Mr. Chait, you good?
I'm fine with that, starting off the dialogue there.
Okay. Anybody from the commission question?
Okay.
Javier, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hear you?
correct.
Cindy's
I'm
on.
I'm unmuted also. I'm good with the dialogue.
Oh, look at
Okay,
you.
so all three of the members are present on this. So if you have any specific questions for them, please do. But I did, as I said, in preparing this, I did look at what a number of neighboring communities were utilizing. And, you know, the warehousing references that they made, we just didn't feel would be appropriate for Deep River.
Okay.
So,
All right. So just quickly, since we're
Mhm.
learning this as we go, I guess if somebody's going to ask a question, they should slide up here so you're in the camera getting recorded. I know it's a huge pain, so I guess that's what we're going to do. Anybody?
I've got a couple questions, but I'll defer to others if they've got questions first.
Okay. Like I said, we're all learning this at the same time.
Raise a concern, I'd say, if it's going to result in a discussion.
No, I'm making comments. Where do I go?
I'm assuming you have to come up here, that way they can,
because actually we can't even hear them unless they're
right.
where you are.
Next time we're going to have a couch. We're all going to be sitting on a couch.
If it makes you, if it makes,
Next time it's not going to be hybrid.
That's what I'm thinking.
We're going to have to vote on that tonight.
Yeah.
Hi, sorry, Marion Stay. I looked at these regulations and I had, I guess, some concerns. I wasn't planning to go first. First one was E, outside storage will be allowed for vehicles only. I'm not sure personally if I really like outside storage of automobiles in general. I mean, obviously you can park in front of a unit, but I wouldn't want to have things stored outside. Okay.
Is that essential to their proposal? I know it's, I
Well,
know the
it-
language is there, but I want to,
I
we
don't,
should ask a
I,
question as to why that language is
well, exactly, because, well, I'm looking at this, this is for anybody in the zone. So we have to go for it, that it's for the zone, not for a particular property. I also had a problem with the exception, how it was written. I think it needs to be a lot clearer that if an application isn't going to follow what's in the regulations, it must be the commission that decides that, and that should be very clear. I didn't see whether this was a special exception or a special permit or just a regular site plan, so that needs to be in. And I didn't know, this is a general question, and I don't know if John Gaskowski can answer this, but how, the exception is any building that's been in the zone that was built before January 1st, 2010. So how many buildings are there that were, because potentially those would be under the exception, that they didn't have to follow necessarily all of the conditions. And like I said, that should be determined by the zoning commission, but it's not clear in here, and that's pretty much it. So, do you have questions of me? I don't know, again, no.
We're all learning.
How this,
Alan Parity. I want to echo some of Marin's points. First of all, the exception, which was written in, basically it's looking for an exception to a use that does not already exist.
Correct.
Trying to exempt a building and that doesn't have what will become a what would have been a non-conforming use. So I can't really think that we can accept the exception. It's really trying to change the language of the regulations and build in an appeal, essentially.
Okay.
So I think that is essentially a non-starter. I also concur with regard to the outside storage, and especially vehicle storage. I think that introduces a whole different type of use than an enclosed self-storage unit, and has a broader implication on that entire and changing the entire zone.
Okay.
The other one, I have a question in regard to it's letter I. No facility shall be located so that its entrance is within 2,500 feet of any other such facility. Is there a rationale for that distance?
The rationale for the distance was merely we just didn't want to have facilities of this nature just kind of backing up against one another. We took into consideration the potential for safety and the 500 feet of direct frontage. I mean, it was going to.
But there's no limitation.
There wasn't anything specific. We were doing it more just so that you didn't have 3 in a row.
Again, it's almost problematic. If you're going to allow this use
Mhm.
as of right within the zone, then there can be one adjacent to the other.
Okay,
And
we are open
we
for that. We are open for that dialogue. This again was our proposal based on the fact that there wasn't anything. So no one.
And then the last point that I would make is that this is a use that's, you're absolutely correct, it's not presently identified in any of our
Right.
zones. And the regulations are typically interpreted that if it's not identified as being permitted, then it's not allowed. So we're looking for a location for this type of use, which in my personal opinion, industrial zone is the right type of zone because the nature of the facility, the nature of the traffic, and the scale of these facilities, that there are no other zones that it would be compatible. It doesn't fit with commercial, et cetera. So it is a right zone to be considered. At the same time, there's nothing in our plan of conservation and development that calls for this use in the town. So that's where we have a little bit of a debate. It's driven by somebody wanting this use, but it's not driven by the town seeing the need for this use. So my suggestion is that we have a broader discussion within town if this is in fact a use that the town needs to accommodate. And it very well could be, especially if we're looking at greater density in the center of town and a greater density of housing. When you begin to introduce that, then people need a place to keep boats, trailers, larger scale things that are seasonal in nature. But presently, I don't see that as being something that's driven by our plan of conservation and development. So.
I hear you. And that's why we were asked to draft this when the applicants did in fact approach, and I'm sorry, I forget her name, the woman who was, Avi, do you remember her name? The woman that we were working with initially?
In town?
In town.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. There was a woman who was there temporarily that we were interacting with, who, when we did make inquiry as to whether, I mean, when we did start researching and finding that there was no provision for anything of this nature in town, clearly her suggestion was, if this is something you want to apply for, write the regulation.
Right.
So we did.
Was there any discussion with the Economic Development Commission or any other organizations in town that would look at
No,
the new business types in?
no, there was not. And certainly if that's something you will request, we will do that.
Yeah, I think it would help this commission if there was something driving that use. Again, when we change our regulations, we typically look to our plan of conservation development, which gets input from EDC and everybody else in town that identifies things that we want or need. You know, otherwise we'd be altering our regulations in response to an individual, which I
Yeah.
think that's where it starts. But I think we need a broader discussion before we introduce it to use.
Okay, and with respect to the exemption that everyone's speaking to, one of the reasons why we included that exemption is the very reason that we've sort of talked about in this last discussion, which is we didn't want anyone to say that we were drafting the regulation and it was completely self-serving and we were excluding everybody else from the provisions. So that was part of the thinking with the exception. I do respect all of the comments that honestly, the granting of an exception is not, you know, is for review by all of you and not something that's there. But there was a thought process behind that
Right.
we didn't want
Yeah.
people to say we're drafting a regulation that's specific to us and it doesn't apply to anyone else.
Yeah, it almost looks like a change to regulations with a built-in appeal. So I would separate those
Okay,
two.
and
That's all I have.
Oh, the musical chairs is nice. All right. So where do we want to go with this? Are we gonna require them to go back to EDC and rewrite some of this? Are we tabling this? Anyone? Suggestions? Right? But that's what I'm saying. That's the other part. Does anybody from the public want to speak on behalf of this? All right, hearing none. That's what I'm saying. I mean, there was a lot to this.
Suggestion for going to, after the public hearing is over, we deliberate on.
But if we close the public hearing, they can't submit any more information.
Can't they at our request, if we request them to provide some additional information with the application, that additional information would be commentary from EDC?
Right. Yeah, if you guys are all right with that.
Yep.
So it looks like we're thinking keep the public hearing open, get some
Fine.
issues done, speak with EDC. I mean, there was,
okay, and the revisions that we're going to speak with EDC, I will get back in touch with appropriate people after we do that. Are you looking for a report, a letter, some sort of communication from EDC
yes.
relative there too?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they'll have some kind of input, you know, they'll have a comment or three.
Okay. And then the amendments that we were looking for is the elimination of E and potentially a reworking of the exception. But I think with respect to the exception language, I would rely very heavily on the group before me to assist us with that. Or are you suggesting just eliminating the exception?
I'm gonna refer back to Alan and Marion about that because they were, I mean, we were thinking just take it right out or just reword it.
I've lost my
It
E.
has to be rewritten. For my, I don't particularly care for it.
Yeah, I wasn't.
For information about how many other buildings were built before 2010. And I want the exception to be clearly linked to the zone. if somebody was wanting to not do one of these.
Okay, Tony, I hate to tell you, I can't hear anything she said, so you're
You
gonna
guys-
get to
no, I'm
repeat
gonna
it
have
all to me.
Right. No, so it sounds like they want the exception to be linked to the Planning and Zoning Commission. So it'll have to be a special exception that, that the zoning commission would vote on. Or, require a public hearing and all of that.
I would suggest we eliminate the outside storage at this point because of,
With it, yeah.
and then
I mean, the thought behind the outside storage was in case anybody had something larger than, a cute little Fiat that could go inside one of these buildings. If somebody had a camper, an RV, something of that nature, but we'd have to configure the buildings as to accommodate.
My thought though is, it could also end up on Main Street and then somebody's parking their RV against Main Street. So
Okay.
I get the outside storage. Additionally, the no facility located so that its entrance is within the 2,500
Oh,
feet
I
of any
can't hear you.
other such facility. Just eliminating that or?
Eliminating it, reducing the number. I mean, I'm deferring to you. We did that, as I said, just so that we didn't have 3 in a row and a safety issue.
I would tend to eliminate it because if we allow the use, we allow the use.
Right.
And it might be, we make the recommendation that this is by special.
Oh, they want to put it back there?
You end up with too many of them. Under
I'm sorry.
permit review. Can you hear me?
You gotta come back over.
Not really, no. I'm
Hold on,
sorry.
Ray's coming back over.
I would tend to recommend that we eliminate the provision of distance, because if we allow the use, we allow the use. And that we also frame this, that the use would be by special permit, not necessarily as of right. That way we can make the determination if there is too high a density of this use, that we can review those specific conditions to the site or the area. So, but again, putting a provision on, it's almost like spot zoning, that if you're too close, then you can't have one. And it's just not the way the regulations tend to work. So I would tend to leave that out, and we sort that out, on the review process.
Mr. Chairman, Tony, when the commission is done, I have just a couple of questions.
Yeah, fire
A
away.
couple of questions. Okay. So for the record, John Guskowski, zoning officer. Just a couple of requests would be that to clarify, I think as Marion Stay had asked, that whether this is to be a site plan or special permit category, and to indicate what number on the use table, like basically propose a place for this to fit into the regulations. It would be 4.10 point something. And show us the full use table of what where this is allowed in town under what permitting path, as well as proposing the specific self-storage facilities regulations where those go. I would assume probably 7B something or other. So sort of propose a specific place that these can be adopted into the regulations. And then I would just add 2 comments for consideration, one being proposed hours of operation and facility management. Are there going to be, is the overall facility to be fenced? Are there security cameras? Is there an attendant? Is it 24-hour? So
I'm sorry, John, to interrupt you. I don't mean to. Wouldn't that be when we specifically do an application, or do you want those put right into the regulations that there need to be security cameras? I mean, I don't mind adding specific hours.
because
but-
I'm not confident that there's well, I mean, if it's a special exception, there's fairly broad latitude for the commission, but I think because of the unique nature of what self-storage is, it should be in this section of the regulations that a sufficient provision shall be made, or a narrative provided without the commission having to specially ask for it.
And do you have specific hours that you are suggesting, since you mentioned them?
Well, I mean, there are facilities that are 24 hours. They're especially if they're self-storage and unmonitored, and people either have a pass key or a key to get in the gate. it's, you know, this is your application.
Okay,
I just think that those details should be included in the
well, I
proposed
recognize
regulation.
that's the application for, I'm sorry, and I don't mean to be dense. I'm working between the regulation as we are attempting to write it and what their specific application would be. So do you want the regulation to have these things?
I
Again,
think-
we're not trying to make it specific to, we're trying to make it more,
The
broad.
requirements, I would say that applications applications for such facilities shall provide details about hours of operation, security, you know, tenant access, things like that.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right,
thank you.
all right, so, I guess we're gonna, is everybody in favor of holding the public hearing open?
Yeah, I think we.
All right, so everybody's in agreement. This is gonna be good because Stan's online, so. All right, looking for a motion to continue the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Looking for a sec, looking for a second?
I'll second that.
Actually, Christie beat you to it. All in favor? All right, Stan, how do you vote? All right, Stan voted aye. All right, so we will see you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, on to item B, modification to existing special permit, 439A Main Street to allow outdoor dining and entertainment. Applicant Robert Galbraith. Is there somebody here? Sadly, I gotta bring you up here. You guys gotta sit here. This is good. State your name and give us your spiel.
Robert Galbraith from the Rusty Rail Tavern with Joel Nucci, my partner, business partner. We submitted the application for amplified entertainment originally. So that's what we're here for, is to, ask the commission for the entertainment portion of it. There is, which we were under the impression the dining portion was from tailgaters. So that somehow is on this petition, so to extend our outdoor dining of what we have. So we'd like to do entertainment no later than 10 o'clock, amplified with an agreeable decibel level that we can come to an agreement with. Friday and Saturdays or afternoons, Sunday afternoon acoustic, things like that.
Just sneak in here so everybody can hear me. This is Tony Bullock again. So I'm gonna open this up to comments from the public if there are any. If not, anybody from the commission? Oh, public? Gotta come back up here. This is gonna be fun. Gotta state your name and ask your questions.
Hi, Lauren Stewart, 134 Kirtland. What is an acceptable decibel level? An agreeable decibel level?
For me, I gave a chart. It's depending on what we can agree to. If that's, an annoyance decibel level is over 100. Normal entertainment is between 80 and 90.
The state regulation is 55 decibels till 10 o'clock and 45 after that, outside the building.
I'm not aware of that. I'll check that. Is that for amplified?
Yeah, your neighbor shouldn't be able to hear your music.
If I could, can you, do I have to?
Yeah, you go.
All right. So the guidelines in regard to decibel levels in a residential district, not just statewide, but it's kind of a national design standard, would be 45 between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. Between 6 a.m. and 9 p.m., it's 55. Now, this is in a residential area, which is in a butter, an abutting zone. So you got to respect the requirements of that particular zone. Now, one way to address this would be to look at a consideration of noise levels at the property line, especially because you have butters in residential and you have butters in commercial zones as well. So the expectation.
Hold on one second. Can you guys hear him all right or no?
Yeah, is that Alan?
Sorry, this
Yeah.
is Alan Parody.
Okay, and
Can you hear him all right, or is the microphone picking him up?
and Alan, just for the record, you're quoting stats. I don't know if you have a source that you are. Are using.
I can't cite it right now, but
Okay.
again, I think for purposes of discussion, since something hasn't been recommended, I want to at least discuss an approach that we might consider and where we might consider taking those decibel levels. Again, if you're going to have outdoor music, you want the volume sufficient on your property to make it, audible and what you'd expect to hear. But on the neighboring properties, that's where the concern comes in, and that's where it might affect a neighbor's property rights. So I would begin to suggest that if we establish a decibel level that it be determined at the property line of the abutters, that we establish a standard for the residential abutters, which would be recognized either as a national or a state standard, and as Larry has pointed out, it is published in several locations that 45 decibels during daytime hours and 55 during daytime hours and 45 at nighttime hours. Again, in a commercial district, I think those levels would be higher. In a business district, commercial district, you're not having expectations of, quiet time for sleeping, that businesses operate under different hours and different conditions. And so that might be at the level of 65 to 75, which again is in a, above a moderate range. I'm not presuming to be the expert here. All I'm doing is recommending an approach that we can handle the issue with regard to different zones. I guess, again, this being a special permit, we have to take into consideration the specific conditions and requirements of the site that it's on and the adjacent site. So I'd say that as a starting point in regard to the decibel level on the property.
Great. So my question would be, so say we have a concert next to the church, does that held to the same standard? Like there was a concert the other night at the church, or the Historical Society does things, or the Munster does their things. So how is that?
Yep. One difference there is that that's an event and not a recurring thing. And again, the one thing we have to keep in mind is that your immediate neighbors may not mind, and you can hold these events, and you work out your the arrangement that whatever time works for them, and if there's no complaint, no harm, no foul. One thing that we want to ensure is that 10 years from now, as if we permit this, that carries, if the use continues, it carries with the property. If somebody else moves in and to that abutting residential property, and they have children that want to sleep at 8, we need to respect that property as well. So it's a difficult issue. I mean, nobody's complaining about the church having an occasional concert, or the events, because it's the exception. It becomes a norm. It is a different impact on your neighbors. So personally, I'm in favor of what you're doing with that. But in terms of your other property owners and future property owners, we need to preserve their property rights as well. So it's not an easy issue.
Allison Sloan, PRP. I do think that we have to keep in mind that we're not you're not speaking about staging a concert. And this is one thing that when you used to be the manager of Patacon, we used to talk to you about the decibels, because you're sitting there eating and you want to listen to the music, but you're also sitting there eating, having conversation between people also. So people are listening to the music, but it's not like you're going to see Rush or Deep Purple. You're going to a venue, you're going to a place where you're going to enjoy a meal. And so we're not talking about them blasting music all over the neighborhood. I don't even think you're talking about really high decibels. You're talking about music that's going to just be something that's really wonderful to listen to. And I don't think that you're going to be talking about decibels being a huge.
No, because we're willing to do what
Right.
the regulations
Because
are.
I used
If
to
it's
tease you
45,
about that at Patacon. I used to tease you about
I would
that.
have a decibel meter,
Yeah,
and
but I don't think it's something that's gonna be bothering, and I'm just saying this because I haven't even been part of this, but, you know, when we were there, you were supposed to turn it down, and that's a residential area too, but, because people are going there to eat and have a nice time and have a meal, and they like to hear good music, and, you know, a lot of times go to hear the band too, but you are not talking about going to see a concert. You're going
just
to have a nice
entertainment.
So that was just my two, that was my 1.5 cents.
You gotta come up.
Jennifer Mislick.
Go ahead.
I'm the next door neighbor.
Yep.
And I just want to let you know that the decibel level does concern me, and it does affect us being right next door. We do hear things as it is now, so I assume that we will be definitely hearing what's going on once the live music begins. And I just want to make sure that it is measured. I don't know who does that, or if it gets too loud, who do I contact?
Well, probably the first thing you could do is just contact us. If it's too loud, then we would definitely just solve the problem by turning it down or cutting it early, the music early.
Okay,
Bill,
thank
by the way,
you.
Nucci, one of the owners of the company, of Rusty Rail.
And I think that's.
And the other concern that I have is the parking. It's already very crowded as it is, and live music is going to bring in a lot more cars into the parking lot. Right now, there's already parking along the grass almost every night. And along the road, which I understand that is fine, but where will all these extra cars go?
I am in the process of making a deal with someone in the area to be able to park on their property. And that is talking about probably in the next month or so, because I have to wait for them to finalize their deal with the piece of property that they're buying.
Okay.
So we are going to have a designated spot, which is close by for parking.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. The other thing I want to see is the way we're going to have the music set up is the acoustics is actually going to be going towards the woods. It's not going to be going towards anybody's houses or towards going into Deep River. It's going to be headed out to Deep River. So it's going to be towards the woods area where the sign is and where the railroad tracks and so on and so forth. So it's not going to be coming out at anybody's houses or anything. So that was one of the big concerns we had talked about, that we don't want that problem down the road. So that's why I decided to do it the way we did. We're going to be doing it.
And I agree with that. I think that can be accommodated. Again, if you get.
Hi. Can I, I'm sorry, I just got online.
Nope,
Former state representative Bob Segrist. I do work there. Jen, I'm glad that you're on this thread. I think that Rob and Joel have been doing a good job. I understand your concern If you have any concerns about where the volume goes, I'm sure we could work something out with the state of Connecticut.
What goes?
Does anybody hear me?
He was, yeah. so-
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Yeah.
Your concern is your concern, I'm sorry, I just got on. Is your concern that the volume was going to be towards your residents?
I just want it to stay within the levels it's supposed to be set at.
Absolutely, and I think that, you know, I think that's good. I don't know what Joel and Rob, you know, that's up to you guys, but I think that we could work it out so that it's not going to be loud. You know, personally, I don't think that, you know, we're not looking at Rusty Rail to be a late night party place. It's a good place that, you know, that people are employed, that, you know, people have fun, and we close early. We're not, you know, and I personally, and obviously this is up to, I'm not the owner of Rusty Rail, right? But I think we don't want this to be a late night place. It's a place to go and have fun, you know, listen to some music, and then, you know, and that's it, you know. So I think that, I think that me personally could work with, you know, Deep River and the first selectman, Angus, and, you know, have a good business right off the tracks, and, you know, post-COVID, have a good time. So this is not, I heard earlier somebody said something about the Pataconk. It's not going to be the Pataconk. It never will be the Pataconk. It's going to be a nice place to grab a burger, a hot dog, you know, family friendly, kid friendly, dog friendly, some music, sure. And if anything goes wrong, we're going to nix it. So respectfully, that's all I have to say. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Come on up.
All right, Christy Stroud. The decibel level on Tuesday night said awesome concert was, they estimate right up front at 80. So, and that projected it all the way across the field. So I guess my point is, my guess is for the location we're talking about, 45 to 55 would be more than enough. Because if we can use it at 80 and it goes the entire church lot or the church field, I can't imagine that dropping it down isn't going to be okay. So.
I personally can't see any of the bands or any of the people that they're going to come sing is going to be any higher than that.
And again, I think what we want to get to, we understand what it wants to be. I think there's a lot of support for what it wants to be, but there's some issues we need to resolve and come to an agreement. And most importantly, this sets a precedent. This isn't about your place. It's about any place that comes into Deep River that wants to do something similar. So we want to be fair and equitable across that and establish some regulations which are important. Now, a lot of these issues can be dealt with design-wise. You can get directional speakers. You can create sound barriers that the music is blocked from abutting properties. So that ends up being on you. What ends up being enforceable is if we look to standards for noise levels in neighborhoods, let's adopt those. And that's how it's enforceable. If your neighbor says, hey, look, you know, in my yard, it is 70 decibels. You call and say, shut it down. And what I'm hearing is that you understand that. That's part of the process.
We're well, you know, we want to be good neighbors.
Yep.
We want to come to a level, if it's 55 or 40, whatever the number is, and that's the number we'll maintain. So if someone does call up and say, hey, it's a little loud over there, you know, the meters you can get on your phone is gonna, you know, you go to the property line, yeah, you're right.
Right.
We'll turn it, and but for me, the police that had a sound check and bands before, I'm like, this is where the volume is and this is where the volume stays.
Right.
And if the volume goes up, I've shut bands down. Like I tell you, you don't turn it up. I mean, every once in a while, the band, they want to turn it up, gets too loud, we turn it down. You know,
And I think that you have.
plus based on the crowd. If I have people eating dinner, obviously we want the music lower. Right. If people are there to listen, then we go up to whatever that standard is that we want to do. Right. I mean, we don't want to rock the town. We just want to provide entertainment.
Understood. And I think you understand how to manage this. I want to have the people at the river understand that they have a recourse. If they think it's too loud, then that is a standard, and then you can have that discussion.
All over and say something.
So-
I mean, that's, Larry's trying to sneak back in.
Yep.
Sorry about that. Larry Stewart again. There's also governors you can put on, so the band can't freak it out. Yes, it is. I think it's a great idea, just, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we want to make it work for everybody. And, you know, like you said, we don't want the concert. We want entertainment.
And to
Because
Christie's point, you know,
When you go to the concert, you eliminate 50% of your business that don't want to hear the loud music. They want to have
40% of your
dinner.
hearing.
Yeah, they want
And
to have, they
especially-
want to have dinner, they want to eat, they want to have a drink, they want to listen.
And the other thing is that we are trying to become more kid-friendly, like games. And we want the kids to be able to come to the, you know, to see these bands and stuff where the kids can enjoy it as well and eat and sit. And we're not trying to become any kind of a,
We don't want to be, we're not a traditional bar.
Yeah.
I build
Yes.
it as a family
friendly place.
Anything I've ever done, if we can't include kids, I don't want to do it.
Correct.
So,
the Griswold Inn does a pretty good job. You can't really barely hear it outside. It's at a level where you can still eat dinner. They do a really good job of that.
Yeah.
Who knows what to feel about the Griswold Inn, and it's like done very, very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to it.
Yeah, so.
I'd like to address one other point. Come back to that frame again.
Yes, you do.
The question was raised in regard to, once you add music, are you expanding your capacity? And I think it was alluded to that the capacity is already an issue with parking, and it sounds like you're addressing it.
Correct. Thank you.
At the last meeting, we did ask to get some clarification on the expansion of the kind of the base operation capacity, parking, et cetera, because it was something that came up before. So if we are expanding, we would like to have an understanding of that. Again, the special permit, the prior special permit that you're operating under was given under the basis of a certain occupancy and a capacity of property. So I think there's still some things to
No,
resolve.
and we're not changing, we're not going to change the capacity. I mean, capacity is what it is. I mean, we can't.
Our capacity inside is rated
55,
49,
49.
49.
which
yeah.
is, we don't even use our upstairs.
So then the capacity,
Outside is, what's it, 55?
My understanding, it was technically unlimited, but we have it where it's probably another 35, 40 tops
Mhm.
that we fit out there. Because we physically can't.
I get it. But it's also, I mean, and you're probably hearing that as a concern of the butters, is it going to get more congested, et cetera? So I think that
Well, with that
kind of a
parking area that I'm
clarification.
working on, the parking area that I'm working on, it's gonna fill probably, just saying, I mean, most of the people can park in that parking area. It's gonna take plenty of room. But like we were saying, is that if it comes to the point where it's too many, it's not capable of doing it. Can't do it. I mean, to what we have now, I mean,
What we have now is what we can do.
we're not
And
looking
that's
to
it.
expand it any more than that.
And we do have a fence up that we put up on, at the Gen, on their property line. We put a fence up.
Along the missing property.
Yeah, correct. So we didn't incorporate on, encroach on them, or, we wanted to keep.
Right.
So they wouldn't have to deal with the people or anything, and
Yep.
so that's why we put the fence.
Can I ask if there's been any issues that you've had
Who are you directing on
To
that, Jen?
Jen? In this list?
So far, no. No major issues.
And let me be honest with you, Annie, we've thrown, if anybody gets out of control, and we've had problems with a couple, we've already thrown them out. We don't want those people. And we told them.
I can't hear you.
What's that?
I can't hear you.
Oh, I apologize. What I was
Okay.
saying is that we've had people that have come in that have been just not the people that we want, and we have thrown them out and told them not to come back. We don't want that type of people. We don't want the people who are, going to cause problems, issues, going to go out 90 miles an hour out of the driveway. We don't want those type of people. And we've already just passed on a few people that have been like that. And that's not the clientele we want.
There is one thing I'd like to mention that I've seen happen is people exiting off the grass onto 154, not the driveway.
Okay. That was because the couple times that they've done that is because the people that have come have blocked other people in. So that was the only way they could get out.
Okay. It just doesn't seem
Across the grass
safe
now
at
is
times.
Pretty much reserved for
Employee
employees.
parking only.
Employee parking and the salon parking, and occasionally someone will park up there. But I think there is something going on where to turn that into an official parking lot. That's in the works.
Hi, Bob Segrist again. Jen, if I could just respond politely.
You're on.
To Joel's point and Rob's point, I don't want anybody there that disrespects people, that hurts people at all. And I totally agree with you. If I owned your property, right? If I was living next door, I wouldn't want that either. And I've talked to Rob, I've talked to Joel, I've talked to Angela. I think we are on the same page. And I will tell you, you have my word. I'm sure you have Rob's word, Joel's word, that nothing like, we don't want people, I don't know. We don't want.
I'm not worried about that. I haven't seen any problems with the people coming in, really. I was just concerned about safety when I mentioned the car exiting the grass.
Sure, and if we could we'll work. I'm sure Rob and Joel will work on that with you and us.
Well, I don't need to be worked with that. That's your
Okay,
deal.
Well, it's not your property then, so we'll work with Kelly in the town of Deep River. So we're trying to be, we want to be fair. It's a business. And we don't want people that disrespect other people there. And I've known Rob for years, I've known Joel for years, so we're willing to work with you. If that, respectfully, so.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, when you have a chance, if I might.
Yeah, no, fire away.
So with all due respect to Mr. Segrist or the applicants, a special permit runs with the land, which is what they're seeking. It doesn't run with any particular ownership or any particular pledges of good intent and not wanting certain people or welcoming children and dogs. The commission is responsible to review and approve or condition an application to ensure that the public health, safety, and welfare is maintained. Character witnesses are very useful, but this commission has regulations to consider.
I was just gonna, all right, so if there's anybody else from the public or no? Oh, you gotta come up. mind getting in a little closer?
Yeah, okay, all right. My name is David Howard, and we own a property across the street. We own the house that's just to the north of your facility. A lot of things have already been mentioned that I had concerns about: noise, parking, things like that. It's a residential neighborhood. It's been that way for a long time. My family's lived in that house for all my life. So there's never been a venue where we've had live music playing for several hours. So it was a concern for me to have that happen. So noise level certainly is a concern. And I know you've discussed this many times over. So it's just something to be aware of. Which leads to the other question, which has also already been discussed, which is parking. You mentioned that you're negotiating with somebody to get additional parking. I know when tailgaters opened up, this commission stipulated that there would be no roadside parking. And pretty much ever since your facilities opened up, people have been parking along the road, including on our side of the street on when times are busy. So I was just curious, when you have an agreement that you're looking to do, does that mean roadside parking will stop?
Correct.
Okay.
That will definitely stop, because where it's going to be is there's going to be plenty of room for everybody to park.
Okay. How would that be enforced?
Just don't forget they're listening to you guys.
How would that be enforced? I was just curious. Would that be signage put up to say no parking, or?
Well, I'm gonna elaborate on this in here. This is Tony Bullock. So I'm assuming everybody's talking about in front of the billboard almost. So
I think not the billboard, he's talking about on his side,
So-
there's the parking on the side.
Yeah.
That people
we-
drive in and they park right.
Yeah, we own the whole entire wood
Yep.
frontage there along the street, so
Gotcha.
people parallel park, all the way down through there. So, I just wonder if that's going to be stopped when we get an agreement.
When we get, if we get an agreement, when we get the agreement with them, if you'd like us to put something up there for people not to say no parking there, we can do that.
Okay.
I mean, I don't mind doing that.
Well, that's state property also, so that's.
It is a state highway.
But the issue is that, I mean, we can't stop anybody from parking there. I mean, but we can try to tell them not to, try to keep them from not doing
Is there a state regulation as far as parking alongside the roads for venues like yours?
I don't believe so.
not bad. John, is there anything about state parking along the side of a state highway?
No, not that I'm aware, not something across the board. If they were looking for dedicated parking, sort of permanent dedicated parking, they'd have to get an encroachment permit through District 2 in Norwich.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anybody else from the public? Come on up.
I'm Jerry Roberts. I'm a resident of Deep River. I have a great deal of experience with this because I ran the Connecticut River Museum for 8 years. And we did weddings, and we met a lot of bad blood in the community. We were limited finally to 6 weddings a year for that very reason. And I know how hard it is to tell a band to turn down their knobs, because I spent 20 years in a rock band in England. All I'm saying is mostly not about your particular situation, because I'm not familiar enough with it, except for driving by, is that when you set a precedent in town, just be careful what precedents you're setting, so that it doesn't become the onus of a homeowner to come and get you guys to enforce sound regulations. Because when you've got a crowd of 40 people having a great time, and a neighbor comes over and asks you to turn it down, they're gonna get booed out of there. So I'm just saying, don't make it the onus on the property owners to maintain a civil environment in a residential neighborhood. And I'm talking about the precedent you're going to be setting around the town. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you.
Most people, and to that comment, most people that are gonna boo they're gonna be booing at us, because we're gonna be the ones that are gonna be telling them to turn it down, not the neighbors, because, I mean, most of the neighbors, I would assume they would come directly to us and say, or call and say, hey, Joel or Rob, can you do something about the music? And then is what we're gonna do.
I mean, ultimately, we don't want the phone call, so we want to control it from
day one.
When I book a band, I have a contract. They sign a contract that clearly states what I expect, what the rules are. If I have to put a decibel level in there, and I've always addressed volume. The volume will be determined by the management and will not be turned up before the event is over and you don't get paid. But the other option that if the commission is dead set against amplified, then we would consider just doing acoustic, where there's no electric guitar, just acoustic, which would lower that better. I mean, ultimately, we would like to do amplified.
And I don't think it's an issue of whether it's amplified or acoustic, because I can make a lot of noise without an amplifier. And I think it is about the noise level and something that's enforceable. And it's not putting the onus on the neighbors to complain or to enforce, but establishing a standard that anybody that has that property or anybody that has a similar property can be held to. And whether it's the noise or the traffic patterns, you know, again, what I was going to indicate before is you do not have a site plan that shows a curb cut. So that traffic pattern is not permitted. So if the neighbor says, hey, look, they're driving across the curb cut, it can be enforced. Somebody come down, you can't do that anymore in whatever provision. So it's just one of those things is that we establish some standards that need to be met. And I think that you're making every effort to do that. And certainly with the sound, there's ways to control it. The onus is on you to control it such that you don't get the calls. And the onus is on us to try to establish what those enforceable standards are. And it might take us a little, you know, another iteration to figure what they are. We're trying to define a path to it. But I'm not certain that we have a definitive number that we'd say that that's the regulation.
Well, you made the point of that you said between 45 at night and 55.
Yeah.
That's a constant. I have a fair amount of experience with it. The property lines are constant, not at the patio.
Right. Yep. You're gonna have to come back up.
So you got roped in, so, yeah.
You just want to reiterate that for?
Yeah, so it's 45 decibels after 10 o'clock and 55 decibels with a variance up to 60 before 10 o'clock.
Is that the property line?
At the property line, that's the standard, because that's a fixed place to take a decibel reading.
And this is a state standard?
This is the state standard, and if towns don't have a noise ordinance, they generally defer to the state standard.
That's why I was
That's what
asking
we're looking
before, because we would agree to that. I mean, to get this rolling, because we're just trying to, because we still have to go to the state and get this certified through the state as well. So we're trying to get it through you guys first, and then we can move to the next step. Because it's still going to take us for a long time to get this done with the state.
You're doing it right. Yeah. You're doing it right.
Yeah, we have to amend the liquor license.
Yeah.
So if that's, between 55, and we're not going any longer than 10 o'clock. I mean, we may not even go that late, because we may even, it all depends on the bands and who's there and who's not there. So.
And then we close at 11, which we're on Friday and Saturday, which we're perfectly happy with.
Yeah.
I don't want to be open till anything later.
I don't see how that.
No, me neither.
No, I mean, what we've seen now is from 10 o'clock on is nobody's there. So
it's dead.
Yeah, it's small town.
All right.
Take a look at it.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, so I'm going to ask one more time if there's anybody else from the audience. All right, if not, commission members? Anybody? All right. How do you guys want to proceed? I mean, I gotta throw out, I'm still a little concerned about the parking. If the state standard is something that, it's a state standard, and you guys are all right with that, that seems reasonable to me, but.
Can I'm sorry, can I just make a comment, a quick comment, and I'm not trying to be rude at all.
Rob Seeger.
Yep, Bob Segrist, yep, I heard my name.
Yep,
It's not, I don't believe that this, the point of the meeting is not about parking. I think the point of the meeting is about music and the decibels, which is good. And I think that Rob and Joel are doing, I guarantee they're doing a great job, and they want to work with the town. It's a new business post-COVID. That's all I have to say, and I appreciate what you have. I appreciate the Planning and Zoning Commission from Deep River. So thank you.
Thank you. The only point I was trying to make is that, I mean, we've talked about this, it's a possibility that it's an expansion of an existing use, which would, bring the parking issue back up, which clearly the public has is concerned about it. Some of the commission members are concerned about it. I don't think it's so much the music, but the parking. I mean, that's
Okay, and I don't mean to be rude, but I think it's not. I understand where you're coming from with the parking, and you're totally. I'm not going to take that away from you, and to the Planning and Zoning Commission, but I think we're asking for a band and decibels, and I'm sure Joel and Rob will work with the town of Deep River, but it's not about parking. I understand that parking might get might increase, so that's one thing, but what's on the agenda right now is a band and decibels and working with the neighbors and the town of Deep River. And I think that's a fair, parking issues could, yes. What? So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
okay. I was just gonna, real quick, the project description is tables and chairs to be set up for services. Of course, my part's cut off. Does it say mobile? Oh, for music. So that is an expansion to outdoor use, which is all I was getting at. But again, it's up to the commission. I'm only one guy.
Yeah, Bob, we're amending a special permit here. So if we amend it, then we revisit it. And what I'm hearing is that there's an effort from the owners to address all the issues that it triggers.
Right.
And that's what we're here for. So they're operating under an existing special permit. We're amending it, and the brunt of our discussion is to ensure the rights of the abutting properties. And I think that the applicants are aware of that. So I think we're in the right direction. But certainly
I thank you very much. Honestly, thank you.
You're welcome.
And like I said, the other thing was that I said is about the parking. We've been trying to find the place that would be the perfect spot. And as I said, within the next couple months, I'm hoping that we're going to have that spot where we won't have to worry about the parking anymore. And the way that a person that I talked to said, once it's done, he goes, I don't have any problem. We can lease it, rent it, whatever, the area where we can park. So, which is a great thing. And, that's going to be probably 25, 30 spots. So just so you have an idea of what we're looking at. And we know it's a problem. We know the parking is going to be an issue without a doubt. And that's why we've been trying to work it out. So this won't be a problem.
I understand. So looking to you guys, how do you, go ahead, Mary, because I know you got
No, I
something.
was just gonna say, do you want to close the public hearing or wait for more information about what?
I'm kind of pushing for the parking, but my thought was, and I'm just gonna play this out in my head to see how everybody feels about it. Is there any way to do a temporary so they can move forward, because they do have to go to the state, but just for the music? Can we do that and still keep this and require the site plan? No. What's that?
That's John.
John, that was a question.
I suppose you could do a conditional.
Okay.
You could approve it conditionally and would basically reserve the right to suspend if something doesn't come through.
If the parking plan doesn't come through.
That's where we went wrong last time.
That is where we went wrong last time.
is there a way that we can keep the focus on the music and the decibel level, and then return to the applicant with observations that the conditions of the permit that they're operating under is that they're, that we're seeing the capacity issues and ask them to address.
How about this? Could the condition be that they come,
Amend it.
could the condition be that they came back to planning and zoning with a site plan for parking? Really stumping you there, John, sorry.
So was that directed to me? The answer is yes, I think you could.
Okay.
Yeah.
They didn't come
But
back? Or I thought there was something.
I think we have a better enforcement officer in place right now.
Well, yeah, we had 3
And
last
we
time.
have continuity here.
Okay.
We had 3 involved last time, and there was, we had some difficulties with the process. But I think it's pretty clear what we're striving for, and it's not insurmountable either. It's just, it's a matter of getting it on record as something that's approved.
So is it possible to approve a conditional so we can move forward?
I think it is. I think that's what we're trying to do.
And I'll be honest with you, I mean, I've lived in this town 22 years, and, I mean, anybody tells me something they gotta do, we do it. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts, and obviously, you guys know I own a company in Essex too. So, I mean, I'm pretty much, when you tell me I gotta do something, I do it, because I don't want anybody to have a bad name for me or for anything I do, so.
I'm gonna pick on Bruce real quick. What are your thoughts?
So, since what they're looking for is a modification for outdoor dining and entertainment, that does not address parking, doesn't even come into that at all.
Yeah.
So for what they're looking for, the parking's another issue as you want to improve what you're going to do. But I don't see that as being a limiting factor for what they're proposing to do.
Did you guys hear that all right? Guess not. All right. No? I guess,
Tuesday illustrates people want live music in our town. There's well over 125 people came out.
yeah.
A symphony. And everyone there after pretty much, I've had texts and emails, everything begging me to bring them back.
Okay, so Chris,
From all ages. People want live music, so try and figure out how to make it work so they can move it.
quickly, so Christie was saying that they had 125 people come out and people have called and said, when can we do another concert? So clearly people are after, entertainment of some kind.
People want culture.
Culture.
Well,
Here?
Unfortunately, this is Deep River.
We're not a very cultured town, apparently. That's what was just said.
It was a symphony, people come out for classical music, so they want the music.
All right, so what do you guys think? We have motion to close the public hearing. What are we doing here?
Do we ask for any final public comment? Does everybody have an opportunity to speak?
I think, any more public? John, anything else?
Nothing else for me.
Okay.
I would make a motion to close public
This
hearing.
portion, this portion of the public hearing, another item.
All right.
That was the music. So you're closing the portion, the music portion, the outdoor music portion?
That concludes the music portion of our program.
I'll look over a second.
Second.
Thank you. Christie, Marion, Stan?
Yes.
Right. Oh, Jonathan?
What?
Sorry, I forgot you're behind me. Yes, no, close the public hearing?
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, I gotta steal my chair back for a minute. Oh, don't go far. Okay. This is a mess in here. I think there's, yeah, what was the second part of this? So outdoor dining and entertainment. So we covered the entertainment. What about the outdoor dining? Motion to close? Yes, they are. Isn't most of the town? Yep. You got too far, now you gotta come up here and talk. Yeah, because we only closed the, they only voted on the one part. Because they're gonna, I think they're just breaking it apart. Anyway, outdoor dining part. Sorry.
What we're doing is we're going off the permit that Tailgaters had. Tailgaters had went through planning and zoning and pretty much everything they had to get outside dining. And they did that pre-COVID, and they had the approval, so we're just basing it off the approval that they had.
Fine with that?
So there really is no modification that you're requesting. It's
The only thing we're requesting is the music.
Okay. There was two parts on there, that's why.
Okay, yeah, because we're just basically, if you go into Tailgater's file, they have a huge file, and it's in writing that pre-COVID, they had the permission to approve outdoor dining.
And you haven't gone any more tables or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay, just making sure. Trying to cover all the bases here. Good. Okay. What about that? Do we need a motion for that, or are we saying that it's a moot point because he doesn't actually need it?
I think it's a moot point.
I don't even know why you had it in there. Should be just to allow outdoor entertainment.
Okay. Right, it was on the application, so.
And as of now, outdoor dining is allowed by state statute anyway.
Okay. So we don't have to vote or anything, look at that. Next, special permit application, animal facilities and retail business with accessory food service, 112 West Elm Street, applicant K. Pickers. Now you can come back up here. On the record. Oh, this guy's throwing money around too.
No,
Or she's bribing you, whatever just happened.
that was bribe, take it off,
Record be shown, it's only $6.
and a napkin and a receipt. Allison, Pandemonium Rainforest Project, we're nonprofit.
Give us your spiel, please.
Hmm?
Oh, you gotta give us what you're doing.
What am I doing? You just said it. The application for, I'm asking my cohort, for the animal buildings and the cafe.
That's your spiel?
That's my spiel.
All right, I gotta,
Sticking to it.
all right, I gotta ask, anybody from the audience who have questions, concerns? Nobody. Anybody online? All right, commission? Questions? Nothing. All right. Oh, you gotta come back up?
Sorry.
The musical chairs is nice, isn't it? I said next time use your couch, I swear.
No, next time
I have a question in terms of the cafe.
Yes.
Sorry, it's hard to
Yeah, you gotta.
look here and then look at you as well.
Okay, you don't see it.
And also, the building that you're building.
Right.
I think we need to see some kind of elevation or what
The site plans are right there.
that's the site plan. But reading the regulations, we need an elevation or something that shows us what the new building is going to look like.
Should be building elevations, like architecturals.
It's only 14 feet high,
This is steel building.
steel building.
Color, I mean, what does it look like? Yeah,
I mean,
Can you-
it's a very simple 35 by 55. It's right there. It's green, stark green.
That doesn't show it, that shows the outline of it.
It's a very simple rectangular, that's it. I mean, there's nothing to it. It's 14 feet high. It's
Gabled?
35
Do you have a
by
picture?
55. No, she has
Good.
that. She has that site plan. I mean, that's
No,
it.
it doesn't, or I didn't see it. Am I blind?
No, this is just what was provided as site, it's just a site plan.
Right.
Hey, John, before we go further, just for clarification, Village Industrial, is that subject to design review?
Uh, that's a good question. I think by nature of its village, I think so, but I'll verify while you go on.
Because I think as far as planning commission is concerned right now, as long as it meets the height regulations and coverage, et cetera, we're not going to review any design attributes, but it may be subjected to design advisory board review. So we should clarify that with the final application. I don't have my regs.
Oh, I did, but they're in mine.
No, it looks like, this is John Guskowski, per section 7A.5.3, purpose and intent. Village district regs are intended to protect and enhance the unique character and scale of village commercial, village mixed use, and village residential districts. Village industrial is not included.
Village industrial not included.
Can you look in there and see if residential is, excuse me, if the cafe is allowed?
In the,
Because I
zone-
thought, yeah, I looked
the
at.
table of uses.
Correct,
As an accessory use.
yes.
Everybody's favorite table of uses.
I just wanted to verify that that was an allowed use.
Because they told me that it would probably be put in as an incidental. Because it's not, we're not putting in, we're just putting in lemonade and water, tea and coffee. It's not, we're not.
Is it for separate sales?
Yeah.
Is it,
Are you selling
So-
it or giving it away?
No, we are selling.
We're
Yes.
selling it, John.
Yeah, it is. It's not. Yes, it
If,
is.
if that's the case, is there something in here or if, I'm trying to figure out if it's gonna get more extensive or not. If
And-
it's just
No, it's-
lemonade, that's one thing. If
Right.
it's all of us going to be lemonade and then sandwiches or,
No, absolutely not. We're not looking to put in any kind of a deli or anything like that. We're doing this only, and this is why when we spoke to the health district, we indeed actually told us to put it in as an incidental because it's not going to be anything more than that. We want to have something as a refreshment. So when people are coming to the project and when they're coming to see the animals,
Yeah.
or coming to the thrift shop, they have something so that they can have something to drink.
So 4.10.106 allows accessory retail use to a manufacturing or assembly establishment. And if this is sort of a facility they're inviting people to view exhibits and things like that, it's sort of assembly. I guess there's probably some question of, if these are bottles of lemonade and bottles of bottles of water, it could be, reasonably interpreted as accessory retail use because they're selling it. If it was a cafe where you were brewing coffee, that sort of kicks it into a different level of, I think, health permit oversight and might be something different from accessory retail. But I can see accessory retail being, if you're selling bottles of water, bottles of juice.
Right. We had planned on actually brewing coffee, obviously, in winter, but really not much more than that.
And then I would also note that the commission passed a regulation probably 2 months ago that allowed it to add substantially similar uses as special permit use if it deems the proposed use as being real close to something that was already in the regs. And we're in a special permit condition here.
Okay.
And I would see this as being the key thing, that it's accessory and incidental. Nobody's going to go there as a destination to get a cup of coffee or a bottle of lemonade. But if you're visiting to see the animals at the facility and you're there for a duration, then it supports somebody being there for a while with very basic refreshment. So
I guess that's what I was getting at.
Yes,
It
exactly.
needs to be flushed out. It needed to be flushed out
Yep.
because cafe incidental. I mean, if you go to a major museum,
Oh,
they have
right.
a major
They have a
cafe.
huge-
All right, yeah,
Right.
I see what you're saying,
Well,
yeah.
we're absolutely, yeah. No.
And it seems if we're looking at it from the standpoint of it being accessory incidental retail, if it were to expand, it's under the purview of the health authority to say, wait a second, you're preparing food or you're storing food or otherwise.
It's in a
To-
one beautiful brick room that is not going to be expanded at all. It's within this beautiful room in the building. We're not changing that room one bit.
But I think
So to
John's point is the permit goes to not you,
Right.
but we're allowing this, and we got to make sure that it is, the way we're permitting this is it's got the parents, the constraints around it, and it is incidental to use of the property.
so, Mr. Chairman.
John? Yep.
Yeah, no, so just for, I may have missed it in the application. But, we would need some sort of narrative description of the proposed use. What we have is that this is, they're seeking, a cafe and incidental 10, so the veteran or the animal use, I guess, is 41027. So, some sort of narrative, how the property will be used, what the new buildings are for, how those things will interact, how parking and circulation are managed. More than just two numbers on a piece of paper. We need a narrative to go along with it. And I have two questions of clarification, if I might.
Fire away.
Do we have health? I don't believe we've seen health department review of this, either the existing or proposed building changes. And then the second being wetlands review.
Yep, that was one of my questions. So wetlands approval. So has the health district given you an approval letter yet?
Not yet, no.
And wetlands?
Wetlands, wetlands were between wetlands and I talked to Angus the other day, so.
Okay. All right, so anybody else from the commission? Public? Nope. You can ask away. I see the problem here. People are going to not ask questions because they're going to want to come up here.
Again, with the accessory building, what is it for? Is it for the birds?
The animal building?
Is that?
The new building.
It's specifically only for the animals. The big building, the beautiful big building is only for our trade and thrift store.
Okay, I
Yes.
wanted to clarify that.
Yes, the animal building is specifically only for the animals, yes.
And then I have one thing I was going to throw is some of the parking looked like it was in the state right away. And I'm sure it can be reworked so it fits, if I remember that correctly.
I know that I do have in the deeds a right away.
Oh, all right. Then these.
Yes.
Okay.
That's existing parking, right?
Yeah. Okay. Just making sure.
Is that parking being expanded?
No. He's figured it out for the use and the size of the building. And the other building.
And that's permanent? That's a permanent structure?
No, it's a Mongolian tent where I'm putting it down as cement floor.
So-
What's in the year?
Hmm?
What's in the year?
It's
function,
basically a playground for the birds and educational programs in there.
All right, John had a question.
So I would just, I don't want to cut off public input, but I would just recommend that the commission continue this discussion and request that the applicant submit a full site narrative as well as a finding from the Wetlands Commission and a letter from Health District before this commission decides the matter.
You guys all hear that? Health, wealth, wealth, and wetlands, and
site narrative.
A site narrative.
No, the wetlands is for the review area.
They did, so they did, just quickly, there was some tree clearing, wetlands got involved, and they still haven't made up their minds yet.
No, that, we took out some dead wood and some vines. And, so,
Hey, Tony, it's Stan. Can I make a comment
Yep,
or
fire
ask a
away.
question?
Yeah.
Has the, as far as a septic or anything, has that been addressed? As if you're gonna offer coffee and stuff, it might be if people are gonna be hanging around.
Yeah, that's
didn't know what they had.
John's comments was to make sure we got health approval.
Right. It's not on sewer lines, so we need the B100A. And I believe the new building is going to have its own septic system, so it's actually a full septic review.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Right, good deal.
All right. So it sounds like it's gonna get continued. I need a motion.
Motion to continue this to the next meeting.
All right, so that was Bruce. Looking for a second. Marion, second. How do you two vote?
Yes.
All right, Stan?
Yes.
Motion was to continue. All right, that's everybody. All right, let me find my agenda again. Let me just do that. Audience of citizens. Oh, you know what? We need a motion to close public hearing.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Yep, Bruce.
But I'm sorry, did you say close or continue?
Well, yeah,
We've already continued it.
yeah, we continued the,
Yeah, so there, so.
sorry about that.
So you're done. I mean, you're done with your hearings. You can just carry on.
Oh, believe me, I can carry on. Careful with what you're saying. Audience of citizens. Anybody else? So this is for stuff that's not on the agenda. Anybody? Anybody online? Nope. All right, moving on. Approval of minutes. Big comments, questions? If not,
Make a motion that the minutes be approved as distributed.
there's a motion from Bruce to approve as distributed. Alan, second. Everybody else? Okay?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right, I'm gonna call a quick break. So like 5 minutes. If that's all right with everybody?
We're not gonna stop you.
That's what I figured. I think there was gonna be murder here in a minute, so I have no choice but to stop. Sorry about this, guys. Let's see if I can figure out how to pause this too. Leave.
You can pause the recording, I suppose, Tony, if you want.
I can't see it.
Put it on mute.
It didn't work. All right, looks like our break is over. I gotta throw a time, 8:45. Let's see, new business, site plan application, ice cream and Italian ice shop, 169 Main Street, applicant Chelsea Fremont. Is there anybody?
Hi,
here?
how are you?
How's it going?
Good.
All right, fire away.
We are looking to open an Italian ice and ice cream shop in Deep River. I grew up in the town. We're just looking to bring some more community, bring everybody together, and have a nice, delicious treat.
Sounds good to me. So, just if you could fill me in the address, 169 Main Street. Where is this? Just this
Unit A.
Unit A,
Okay.
right across from Town Hall.
Yep. Gotcha. All right.
And so Tony, it's my understanding that there's basically no physical changes to the exterior of the building, no expansion. They're just reusing the interior, basically retail to retail.
Okay.
Correct.
Hold on one second. Guys.
Oh,
Anyway,
here it is.
sorry. I had to do some shushing.
Yes.
Questions? Anyone? Nope. See, here we go.
Alan Parody. John, this may be a question for you. Is it necessary to get zoning permit if we don't have a change of use? We're going from retail to retail.
Yeah.
The product changes, but it's same use. Is this?
It's site plan approval.
I think he's asking, is it administrative site plan approval?
Well, site plan approval is administrative. It's not a special permit. You don't need a hearing. You could decide tonight, but it's not an administrative zoning permit. It's Retail is a, a site plan approval in this district.
So,
Okay, so, all right.
It's village commercial, and so I think it was right.
that was
They're making change, but they're not doing any kind of expansion.
okay. That was a confusion. So, okay,
No change to the exterior of the building?
no change to the exterior.
And I'm told even signage will not be mounted on the exterior of the building. It'll be window clings on the inside.
Easy peasy.
They will be, the clings will actually be on the outside of the
But it's
window,
on
but
the
it's
window.
on the actual
It's
window.
on the window. Okay.
Yes.
Anybody else? No? No? All right, looking for a motion? Anything? Motion to approve? So we'll get a motion to approve from Bruce.
I'll second that.
Alan seconded.
Right.
Everybody else? Yay, nay? Okay,
All right,
thank you.
good.
You guys are all set?
Thank you so much. We're looking
Thank you.
forward to it.
Can't wait to see you guys come in.
Exactly.
So are we.
Okay,
All right.
Have a good night, guys.
you too. All right, moving on to B, proposed contract extensions. Tai Chi Planning and Policy Group. Everybody had a chance to eyeball that.
Who are these guys?
Yeah, I've been asking the same.
Yeah, actually, it's academic because we withdraw the proposal.
Oh, look at that. They had enough of us already, huh? Jesus. All right, I don't even know how to respond to that. Anybody questions or you guys good with that?
It's essentially that it's an extension of the same terms as last year in terms of hours and services. I would note that we did slip in a clause there that if the state government allows virtual or hybrid meetings, we reserve the right to participate virtually.
I don't blame you. He wants to stay virtual if the state allows it.
Understood. I think that makes a lot of sense because it gives us additional access, you know.
Yeah.
We work working time, not travel time.
Everybody seems to like this. Question?
I have a general one. I wasn't here before. How does he feel working with two separate zoning enforcement people that's working out?
So far, I mean, we have our favorites, but we don't tell these guys who they are, so.
We don't want John to hear that.
Nobody want John to hear. That's true.
Hey, you be nice to me or you get Mike. That's fine.
Jesus.
No, actually,
I hope he's not listening.
I think part of it was the kind of the intent is that we've got, with a team, we got multiple resources and we can lean on the expertise. I think part of this conversation, we're looking at extending the contract for the services that we identified previously, which is zoning enforcement and the immediate other services. Although we've embarked already on a planning exercise as we revisit the POCD. And presently, that's not budgeted for. So I think what we need to do is begin to, as part of the budgeting process, look at what our requirements are for zoning enforcement. Also look at what our requirements are for planning efforts. And I think it's an additive effort that's going to fluctuate year to year. There's some years where the planning effort is going to be very minimal, but I think that this year and perhaps next, we need some significant planning attention on the POCD and other issues that are emerging, such as what's coming out of the EDC studies, and just as the town has changed. So I don't know if this is the right way to do this, but I have no problem at all with the extension of the contract. But I think we need to go to Board of Finance for a request for funding for planning services.
I agree.
And it would be my recommendation that we, excuse me if I'm not saying it right, but enlist Tai Chi to provide both services because they have the expertise to do that, as well as the benefit of providing both those services to other towns within the region. So we get that benefit as well.
So did you catch all that, John? So I think my
Yeah.
suggestion would be to approve what you've given us and ask for another one to do some town planning.
Yeah, and that's fine. And I think insofar as, and I think we are, I'm going to knock on wood and hope that I'm not jinxing myself, but we're a little bit more on top of the enforcement stuff. I think finally after the end of the year, trying to figuring this stuff out, and are more able to find those gaps in our time, either at town hall or remotely, to work on some of this stuff, this bigger picture stuff. It didn't like preparing the survey or sort of starting to talk about POCD hasn't really encroached on the zoning stuff. So but it's about perfectly fine being asked to dedicate larger chunks of time to special projects, certainly. But we're able to take on slightly more than just the zoning enforcement in the normal course of things. Certainly working with Angus on grants and stuff like that has been one of those things. So if you guys are wanting to be a little bit more ambitious, we're happy to give you a proposal for that.
Yeah, and I think if we did it as a proposal, because again, the previous process was to hire a zoning enforcement officer. And here, I think what we want to do is specifically solicit planning services and put that in front of the Board of Finance as a distinct and additive role.
But it's also related. I mean, planning is really integral with zoning.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and, part of me wondered if even just those 2 half days was enough to do all of this stuff.
So I'm gonna did you catch that, John? Or
Marion thinks it's impossible that we're as efficient as we are.
that's pretty much what
That's
she
what
said.
she said.
So that was a big debate when this came in, is to hold the old hours and all that stuff. So, but I mean,
Not to mention, I had to collate some of the stuff he should have.
that's right. We're making our own copies. This is ridiculous. Anyway, we're getting way off topic.
Well, I guess.
Well, you pay us extra, we'll give you the copier code, Tony.
We hired a CEO, which has specific expertise and credential, and we'd like to also retain planner because you also have the expertise of a planner. I think they're very different roles, and I think we're fortunate to have the team that fulfills both, as well as having that qualification and credentials.
Great.
And next we'll have him do wetlands.
Yeah. No, he said no way. Well, that's another. After we turn the recording off, I have a comment for that.
We can make a regulatory change to say that there are no more wetlands in town.
There you go. There's no wetlands in town. All right. So, are we gonna? Is everybody fine with their proposal? Make a motion to approve.
Yes.
Somebody made that motion. Bruce made that motion. Second. Oh, Christie beats you to it. Second. Everybody else? Yay?
Yes.
Yay. Dan?
Yes.
Motion passed. Let's see. Proposed regulation changes is item C under new business. So this is all my fault. I couldn't leave this alone. So quickly, I'm just going to tell you the regulations were driving me nuts. I could not look at that zoning chart. I'm not going to use the word, but the zoning chart any longer. You guys have seen the cheat sheets. I don't know, I thought I showed you guys these before, but each zone has its own cheat sheet now, and it has the uses under it. These are now directly in the regulations. This is going to require a public hearing, but I'm just going to babble at you for a second because that's what I do. So anyway, I made a couple of changes in the definitions. Like I said, the zoning charts. Additionally, there was an appendix on the back of this that was from 1978, and it was provided by the Rivercog. It was for timber harvesting. And try as I might, I could not find this thing. So I finally called the Rivercog, and the Rivercog said, yeah, we've changed that about 30 times now. So my idea was just remove that and refer to their ever-changing timber harvesting plan. But anyway, that's how that came about. There's more changes that need to be made, but this is actually a typed up version now with no scans in it. So that's a bonus. There's actually, when it's a PDF, you can actually click on the section and it'll bring you right to it now. But anyway, that's the gist of all this. So hopefully it's a little more user-friendly. Section 4, I believe, is the one that changed the most because it has all the zone charts in it now with the uses. So hopefully it's a little more user-friendly, but it would need a public hearing if you guys are open to that. And I would please read through it in case I made a spelling mistake, which I'm sure I did. All right, that's enough babbling. Somebody, anybody, what do you guys think? Yeah? All right, Christie made a motion to set a public hearing for this. Bruce seconded it for the, what are we, July meeting? July.
Yep.
Everybody else? What's that? Sent for referral to who? Oh, boy.
Send it to
Before the public
Rivercog.
hearing or during the public? All right, so we
No,
got.
we'll send it to Rivercog right away, and it won't hold up to the public hearing.
So is there any other content change in here? I mean, are we addressing any other?
Oh, don't go there. There's more changes I could make. Go ahead. No, these are just the changes I've made so far. We have legal looking at it right now.
So that, the availability of those for us to look at, we'll find them where.
They're on the OneDrive, and I also made copies. They're black and white, though.
On the OneDrive, they're partial.
No, I fixed that, yeah. Yeah, they're one of the million copies we made. What's that? That's why it's gonna go to the cog, right? We're gonna send it. Really? Oh, you're so difficult about this. Okay, I'm being told that we have to send this to Chester and Killingworth and Essex also. Is that, all right?
I think just the cog, but okay.
All right, well, we gotta check this, you know what I mean, check the statutes. All right, so anyway, we're gonna have this a public hearing and send it to legal and all that good stuff.
Is there in fact a roadmap that changes? I mean,
yeah.
It's so
highlighted.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's gonna be gray on the other copy.
And I admit, I just haven't had.
But it's Tony. It's highlighted in the PDF.
Not in the PDF. I will fix that when I get home.
Okay.
It's the last thing in. It's the last thing in the. It's on page 160, number 64. It says June 3rd, 2021. These changes have been made.
So we skip everything between 38 and 160.
Yeah, I didn't change any of that other stuff.
Okay. So that's all still.
Yep. It's just those things have changed, and removing that one section.
I think I'm understanding now.
Okay. All right. What was your question? Getting a lot of questions here. See what happens when you meddle?
You must have a lot of free time, John.
Just aggravation.
You should get a hobby.
If it goes to Susie's house, is it okay to hold a public hearing? So, all right, so I know what you're saying. So if the attorney has it, right, and well, he's pretty good. I have a feeling he'll comment before the next week. So I just,
Before the referral go out.
yes.
And before it's available for.
So before it goes anywhere, it has to go to the attorney first. It can't go to the COG first. It has to go to the attorney first. Jonathan's having stapler troubles.
It has to.
That's what Nancy's telling me.
No, wait a minute, what? You're saying you're sending it to the attorney?
Yep.
Is that what he said?
So you're saying it has to go there first?
No.
Oh, all right. I misunderstood what you're
No,
saying.
you said you're sending it there. So my question was, if you're sending it to the commission attorney.
Yep.
If he has any.
Significant changes?
Significant changes?
Yep.
Then if you would have them before it's sent out, or you just want to make sure it's, if you go to a public hearing and then you have significant, then you can't change it too significantly.
I know what you're saying. So she's saying if the attorney sees it, goes, this thing is terrible, Tony screwed it all up, you have to fix 90% of it, and the COG has it before you have the 90%. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to send it to the attorney first, and then
Yeah.
We could, you could open, I mean, you could open the hearing in August if you wanted.
Right. So, I mean, we could always also open it in July for comment and move on to August.
You're not in a rush.
I am. I worked on this a lot. I'm kidding. So we're gonna put the public hearing in August just for safety's sake, if that makes sense.
Little cushion.
These guys are gonna change what I did. That's what it is. All right. Anyway,
You don't need to hurry. You're gonna have another 6, 8, 10 years of chairmanship.
no, no. That's why Marion's here. She wants the seat. What? Okay. All right, we're resonating on this too much. On to old business. Zoning text application, self-storage, that has been continued. So there's nothing. Modification to existing permit. Also, sure.
So that is set for public hearing in August. Was there a motion to do that?
Well, we never gave a date, did we?
No.
So we're just saying there's a public hearing out there.
Okay.
So it's August.
You'll set it next time? Or are you setting it now?
All right.
Let's set it now.
So we're gonna make a
Just
motion.
so the record is
Okay.
clear.
You've ad-libbed this long. The
Well, I want the who's gonna make the motion.
what's that? But you have to have the motion. So Bruce, would you amend your motion to public hearing in
Public
August?
hearing. This would be on the proposed regulation changes in August.
Thank you. And Alan, Christie, you seconded it. All right, everybody else in favor? Right. Stan, you two have to agree to this again.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yes.
I think we're good. I'm gonna mute Nancy in a second here. Modification, we skipped. I'm sorry, modification to existing special permit 439A Main Street to allow outdoor dining and entertainment. We didn't continue the public hearing, did we? We haven't made, yeah, we didn't make a motion because we have to make the motion now. So, how is this motion gonna play? We're gonna. I think the condition was that we would use the state's decibel level, and they would, at the boundary, and they would come back with a parking site plan to the commission. Is that, yes, is that what we did?
Yes.
No, you haven't.
We don't have to do anything with parking. Because that's not part of this application. They are working on it. On parking.
See, the reality is I believe they're non-compliant with parking right now. So we can bring it up that way by issuing a letter indicating that they're not compliant, and requesting them to come back with a site plan to come into compliance. So they can either alter their operations because they're operating under the old permit, and if they've expanded their capacity or
That's
the
the thing
parking.
for John.
Right.
Because they're not being compliant with.
That's right.
With the
They're
regulations.
throwing you under the bus,
That-
John.
That's
Can you
not-
hear that?
That doesn't impact the permit that they want doing use.
That's correct. So this one we move forward with.
Yep.
All right, and then the way we move forward with the other, we've heard some complaint about parking and et cetera. So John can issue a letter and request that they come into compliance. The way to come into compliance is they'll amend their application again with their provision for parking.
Did you catch all that?
How's that sound?
So you're requiring a new special permit to come into compliance with parking? Or just demonstrate how they can come into compliance with parking?
Yeah.
They just need to be compliant.
Yeah. So the trick there though is that during this year, there's additional year of outdoor seating. Parking regulations are somewhat relaxed because they've allowed outdoor seating to take parking spaces.
Right.
So it basically prevents communities from requiring compliance for parking because it inherently allows outdoor dining to take the place of parking. But that's not to say it's appropriate for people to create traffic hazards by virtue of excessive parking. So I think having them submit, a relatively detailed parking plan is just a good thing to do. And then we may, and the other thing is, it's a small site back there. And it's I don't know if it was ever clear what the parking demands were, because I don't think anything's really striped back there. I don't know what their number, their times 0 parking number was, to ratchet up or down based on different activity. So I think requiring just a detailed parking plan so we know where people are going to go and how it's managed is probably the best approach for now.
Okay. You guys are all good with that? If that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I think we have to separate these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We can get into compliance as far as the parking, but that's a separate issue. Because they were told when tailgaters came, there was a whole big thing about parking, what they could and couldn't use and during what hours. It was an impingement upon the beauty shop out front because they were using some of that.
They needed to have a letter from the shop that indicated that they were capable of sharing parking. So it needs to be rectified. I mean, and we need to establish this as a precedent of what expectations are. Our regulations are very loose because it tends to say what the maximum amount of parking is. But under a special permit, the language in regard to parking is it has to be sufficient to meet the requirements of that use on that site. So that's where and again, but it doesn't say how. It doesn't say for every 2 patrons you have to have 1 parking space. So they could say, it's like, well, we require carpool. So you can explain it away, but it doesn't fix the problem. It sounds like they're in the process of trying to rectify that issue, so they're aware of it.
Okay.
And I think it gives us something to respond to.
All right, so we're gonna make 2 different motions. Is that what we're doing?
No, I think we're only making one motion, which is in regard to the entertainment. I think it's got to be we're going to make a request of the zoning enforcement officer to convey the non-compliances that have been, that have come to our attention, and request that they share a site plan to address it. Or, limit their capacity to 6 people.
It was interesting because he did mention about what he said, even the outdoor capacity was. Rob, I don't know if it was Rob.
He said 50.
35, then the guy said 35.
Yeah.
For outside.
Right.
So obviously they're already making some adjustments based upon what the parking is.
All right. Yeah. So, what's our motion? At the state, all right, so
And do we know that that is actually published someplace as a state guideline?
I would trust Larry, but let's have John verify it.
I think we do need to confirm that. Again, that in my research, that's what I came up with.
Right.
And that's for residential.
Well, I mean, yeah, I was gonna say, I think just let's have it on, the state, because then anything else that happens somewhere else. All right.
That Jacobs and the engineers and a lot do a lot of municipal stuff. We'll have in their library things to do with decibel.
Yeah, the information is available. We just don't have it right now at the time of this motion. So.
All right, so did you catch that, John? You got to verify that the state.
Decibel levels, is that what we're talking about?
Yep.
So verify that. Yeah, and then working with the applicant to put together a parking plan.
Correct.
Yeah, we need to find a public standard, a published standard, and I think what the consensus has been is it's 45 and 55.
Okay. All right. So that's our motion? Who made it? Christie? Who seconded it? Thank you. Everybody else?
Aye.
Dan?
Okay.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you.
I'll look to Nancy to get the text of that one.
I told you, she ad libs very well. Let's see. All right. Go ahead, fire away.
Basically, it's a motion to approve the application for the entertainment. About the state decibel level
At the property line.
at the property line.
Did you catch that, John?
Yep.
Yeah, to be consistent with the state levels at the property.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to just add in accordance with their testimony that the amps or whatever are going to be forwarded to the I don't know if that's too detailed.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
They put it in there.
Yeah, and I think they can rectify it any way that they want. They could be a record barrier, or they use the directional speakers, or whatever. What's enforceable is what that noise level is on the butter's property. If they have it at 120 decibels, right there in their dining area, that's up to them, as long as it doesn't leave the property.
I think, member Edgerton could probably make an estimate as to how many decibels the steam train makes when it goes by 3 times a day. Probably more than 65.
But remember, this sets a precedent, right, for any other use that gets approved for outdoor music or band across the railroad tracks or otherwise.
All right. So, all right, we're on to item C, Plan of Conservation Development. Quickly, the group that said they were going to meet has met. I, for the life of me, can't remember, so I'm going to throw Marion under the bus so she can recap the whole thing, unless, John, you'd like to, and because you're on the record. I mean, I know we talked about the overall mapping and how we're going to expand to look at other areas of town. Is there anything I'm missing?
Well, basically, it's like what we said, that we were going to look at apartments.
Yep, multifamily apartments.
Try to rectify all of their issues.
Okay, and then my thought was, we never said we were going to meet again. We just said.
Yeah.
So
Well,
are we
well-
going to do this? Are we going to do this again?
So yeah, I mean, we also have a number of the surveys out there to different agencies and entities. I've spoken with a couple of them. I've received one. Spoken with a couple of them about getting stuff back to us. So, in the next 2 months, I would anticipate a bunch of those survey results back that we can reconvene and kind of talk about those.
Okay.
To that point too, I believe on EDC's agenda for their meeting next week is to discuss their survey. So that might be public discussion. We have invited them to participate in the joint meetings.
Yep.
So again, I think that there may be some collaboration on that end. John, what feedback have you gotten so far? Did you say you received comment back?
Yeah, I got one back, I think, from the Historical Society, I believe, that actually, true to their name, I think typed it. They literally put a piece of paper in. But to be honest with you, Alan, I haven't gone through it yet. I just sort of put it in a file and we'll look at it when I get a chance.
Just curiosity. Thanks.
Yeah, it's in the land use office if you're interested in like.
It's he'll carrier pigeon it to us.
Yeah.
So that's what we have for the POCD. We should definitely meet again. You're expecting 2 months. Do you want to push it out that far? Do you want to do it next month? We do have the joint meeting next month between all the commissions. So maybe we wait till after that.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
All right, so we'll set that at the next.
And some of the, I mean, and honestly, some of the proposed rezoning changes that we're talking about, I'm kind of monitoring the situation to see how quickly we can get a better GIS system onboarded, so we can kind of make some of these changes a little bit more easily. So I may sort of hit the snooze button on that one for a couple months, but yeah.
All right. Next, it's on to you anyway. Reports from the ZEO.
Okay, I'm gonna so a couple things. As I just mentioned, we are working with Angus's office and getting proposals for onboarding a new GIS system. We've gotten sort of 3 proposals and are between Mike and myself, Angus, and Robin O'Loughlin, the assessor, who are going to be sort of the principal, users of this. We're kind of reviewing the proposals. 3 very good options. And also working with Angus on updating the computers. I think what we will want to move forward, I know that this commission, I think, has already sort of decided that it's leaning away from a hybrid meeting situation. But there will be, I believe, some better technology coming, so that, it's possible that we could dip our toe back into that sort of thing. When we get like a smart board and some cameras and some microphones and, some a little bit more tech savvy. Although I will say, with your colleagues, you're one step ahead of your colleagues in Chester who attempted a similar hybrid meeting, and basically only had 1 laptop as well for the entire commission, but didn't have a camera. So you guys are one step ahead.
Look at us.
Anyway,
Right?
we've been working this month. There's obviously we had three public hearings, four public hearings, 3 public hearings, and so working back and forth with a lot of those applicants. I would note there was some question of posting of signage, physical signage, in advance of the public hearing. We're still under executive order for another 2 weeks, so physical signage wasn't required as long as the information was posted on the town website. After July 1, that goes away, and so special permit applicants and text change applicants will have to post physical signage.
I got a
We
question
are.
about that, John. So
What?
what happens with existing applications that are already under this, that are already?
Right. So the hearing is open, so the public has been properly informed.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, no new signage once the hearing is open. We have been working with Angus and the building official, and also the building official and Lauren Gister in Chester. For both towns are posting the exact same land use administrative assistant position. But applications are starting to roll in, and I think we have at least 1 applicant that we're enthusiastic about. But we need to coordinate across the 2 towns, and maybe set up interviews once we see the applicant pool that we get. I don't know if the interview team will include a member of planning and zoning, but we'll let you know. And we'll certainly start with Tony, and if he wants to delegate that, he's free to do so. So working on that. If I might just roll quickly into legislative updates, and then people can ask questions. I don't remember if what we talked about last month, if the House Bill 6107 passed at that point and became law. So it's now Public Act 2129, which mandates accessory apartments as of right, although there is an opt-out, and that doesn't take effect until 2023. So it gives towns time to get their regulation or their, what they want to do about accessory apartments, either opt out or write some regulations that comply with the statute. It does require training. So every land use commissioner is required to have 4 hours of training every 2 years, including 1 hour of affordable housing training. A law that kind of flew under the radar, that all kind of caught us by surprise when we saw it today, was the land use expiration of permits, of special permits and subdivisions, which you may recall it's traditionally 10 years. It's 5 years, you get a 5-year extension. During the last recession, they passed a law to extend that for an additional 4 years. And I think so it was up to 14, which was just about to expire. So they actually passed another law that allowed commissions to extend permits for another 5 years, on a may basis, not a shall basis. So it's up to planning and zoning commissions and then looping wetlands commissions in also, so that now a project that was permitted, I think even prior to 2011, can be extended up to a total of 19 years.
I was gonna say, that's a long time.
It's a long time. But again, you're only required to extend it up to 14, I guess. The additional 5 years is permissive, not mandatory. And what else? Oh, and as we talked, the virtual, hybrid, or in-person meetings were all enabled through April of next year, and apparently the legislature has decided they're going to talk about it again next legislative session. So commissions are able to meet in person, hybrid, or virtual as basically during COVID. But there are some additional provisions. I was just trying to dig through it's line 7035 of the budget implementer on page 227 of 837 pages in this budget implementer, about if people need accommodation, if you're going to hold a meeting just in person and someone makes a written request within 24 hours of the meeting, you have to provide them with some accommodation. So it almost seems like in most cases a hybrid is your baseline, and it may just be easier to do virtual. But there may also be a need for a portal and town hall, to allow people to sort of closed circuit TV in. So it's a little bit more complicated than just carry on, but I think virtual is probably the easiest option. But again, that's only enabled through April, so we'll see what happens. There's a lot of little statute stuff that passed, including in the budget implementer a statewide GIS resource, the approval of the creation of a statewide GIS office, which is way overdue, and the creation of a statewide continual base map, a parcel base map of every parcel in the state. Money was put into the budget on that, which you can believe it. Well, the money came from the federal government, so it wasn't our state money. Anyway, so I'll shut up and ask for questions.
Questions?
Only he was going to look into getting a plan or printing the CROG plan of development that they just came through, and there's a lot of information.
So you were gonna print, this is on you now with the printing, the regional plan of conservation development.
I was going to print that.
You were, as a handout.
Can we check the transcript?
Is there a PDF available? It can be distributed.
There is.
Yeah, it's on the RiverCog website. I can.
We can get you. We can get you told how many are needed to be printed, and then that way you're not printing for everyone. Because I'm fine with a PDF.
That's fine, and I'll in the interim, until you get me that number in the interim, I'll drop it in the OneDrive.
Okay. So we need, Bruce, you want a paper copy? Two. You want a paper copy? Jonathan? The region? Okay, so it sounds like it's 3 paper copies.
Okay.
Stan, you want a paper copy, or are you fine with a PDF of the regional plan of conservation development?
PDF's good with me. I can print it if I need it.
So I'm hearing 3.
3 copies.
Okay, so it's now in the OneDrive right now.
Okay. Any other questions?
I got a question in regard to an application that was pending and didn't show up on our agenda for Spruce Ledge Tree Farm. I see on their agenda they've got a concert tomorrow. They got a concert Saturday published. They've got 2 concerts a weekend throughout the summer. Now we're holding, others to standards in regard to performances, et cetera, as well as holding others to standards for accessory uses.
So they withdrew their application.
But they're
And I know, and so in so doing, they just became an enforcement target.
Anybody, any other questions?
Stevenson, anything about the, what's his name, down on 145?
Stevenstown Road, Papusha.
Yeah, Papusha.
They actually, just as we were sitting here this evening, what's her name? Becky Getch, who is the partner of Scott Papusha at Running Brook Farms, just submitted a commercial agricultural use application for Stevenstown Road, which is an administrative zoning permit. So I will be reviewing it.
Okay.
Because they got through wetlands, I believe.
Okay.
They satisfied the wetland violation, I should say.
I'm going to elaborate on that one in a minute. Any other questions? No.
Gateway, we haven't heard anything back from the letter that went to Gateway.
Oh yeah. The letter.
We've not heard back yet. I think they're meeting the 24th of this month.
Yeah, next Monday, right? No, Gateways. Yeah, that sounds right. Shit, I forgot what I was going to ask you. Oh, anything about the delay of demolition?
No,
Nothing.
it has been delayed.
All right. Anybody else? All right. No? Yes? Nope. All right. Moving on to attorney. Looks like nope, that's number 10. I don't think we have anything from the attorney. That's the payment of bills. That's its own separate thing. Engineer, not that I know of. Regs committee, nothing. Chairman, I'm gonna yammer away for a second. The other thing we should be looking at, which was on here last time, is marijuana. That just passed today. So we were gonna push this out and ask everyone, and I guess my thought is let's say I ask 5 people, and I get a feel they say no one cares, and you ask 5 people, and you guys all ask 5 people. Is that enough to put it on a public hearing and get people in here for their input without taking any action? Can you have a public hearing about that?
EDC has put that on their survey.
But that's not for till September. See where I'm going? I mean, we could have the public, they may have it in September and push it out for a year. And then people would, I don't want somebody to come in and force our regulations, or, you know what I'm saying?
They can request just like they're requesting storage facilities.
Right, but I'd rather beat them to the punch. Like, my feeling is, if you're gonna grow it, it should be, where there's farms. If you're gonna have it, and everybody agrees to it, it should be an industrial area, not near the center of town. And I think we should have that conversation way ahead of anybody else bringing that conversation.
I don't think they can do anything. I thought I heard something that it's 2023.
Yes.
Before, okay.
Yeah, it's out there, but I just, people are gonna apply in applications, they're gonna want their buildings ready. Because we did a grow facility from the company I work for in Portland, and it took a year and a half to get all the permitting through. But they did start way ahead of everything. So just, if you guys would think about this, because it is gonna come, and I think we should be way the hell ahead of it, not just let EDC go. We've asked people. I think we should wrap our heads around it too. Anyway, that's. No, I don't either, but I just think if you would ask people, ask your neighbors, ask your friends. Right?
I have one neighbor that wants planning and zoning commission to take a preemptive position and say, we are not gonna allow marijuana in town.
See, that's why I'm asking.
I have a neighbor who's a existing non-conforming use.
Right. Right, but that's what I'm saying. It's gonna be all over the board. 'Cause, I mean, to bring Papusha back up, he grows hemp on his property. I mean, so there are people in town who are gonna want this. So anyway, that's my spiel. I think we should be asking, not just waiting. Anyway, that's the only thing I got for.
it's not gonna be, if you poll people, it's not gonna be consensus. I think it has to be official, so.
I agree, but that was my thought, was at least, hey, open a public hearing, and people go, holy shit, what are they talking about? They show up, and at least you get their opinion. Not even if you're gonna vote on it, just, hey, what's your opinion? But you're thinking, make the selectmen have a public hearing on it?
I would think they would be wanting to do that anyway.
I think it's a ballot issue.
Well, I think it's a ballot issue, but I also think,
And let the selectmen start. It's more than a zoning issue. It's more than economic development. It's got cultural implications.
it is, there's tons of implications, but we still have to address our end of it.
Yeah.
But I think we let the selectmen
I think they.
do the groundwork and get the data, so we know how to proceed.
Okay. Okay.
That too.
All right, so it sounds like we're making Angus take the flag. I like that.
Yeah, then, because we have to figure out what we have to do, whether we establish a zone and regulations for it, or we identify it as a use that's not allowed.
Well, for growing agricultural use, I know there are people in town that are interested, they've poked and asked, and so, but,
It's a much bigger issue than planning. So
yeah. Okay.
Planning and zoning store, maybe, PNC had an exploratory visit. Maybe it's been 10 years, maybe a little bit less, when this marijuana thing first
Right.
started up. And these people came in with, they were ready to go. They had buildings and fencing and security and all that stuff. But
Yep.
you probably,
Yeah, it still takes a long time.
they were 10 years ahead of their time.
Yep. It's not easy, and they're finding that it's hard to be competitive too.
That is.
It's, it may not be a good small town.
No, but that's, the grow might be, that's the. All right, well, that's all I got for that. Budget, I think we've talked about that. You're gonna get us another proposal, and that's about it. Payment of bills. I had the one bill here from
Had
Howard
from
State.
Howler and Sage, yeah.
Everybody have a chance to look at it?
I would move that we just advise the selectmen that these charges are associated with specific tasks of this commission. It's not coming out of our budget, so we can't authorize the pay, but we reviewed it, and
seems reasonable.
And it's all relative, past forward count. It's all driven by actions of the planners.
That was a motion?
And Mike and John should pay half of it out of pocket.
Ooh, they make you pay half of it.
It's too bad I wore my pants without pockets, so.
See, that's the nice thing about Zoom.
Mhm.
Second, anybody? Oh, Aaron beats you to it. Everybody else?
Yep.
Stan?
Yes.
Fantastic. That's it. Adjournment. We need a motion to adjourn. Oh, Jonathan, boy, he didn't even
Jumped on
hesitate.
that one, didn't he?
The second. Bruce the second. Everybody else?
Aye.
Yes.
What is the Howard and Sage?
What are they?
We were just talking about?
We're adjourned.
That's our, yeah, we're adjourned, but that's our attorney.
Oh, it's Aaron. Oh.
Yeah. All right.
The opportunity for commissioner questions has expired.
Thanks, guys. Everybody have a good night. You all stay out of,
What's left of it?
right?